Hey everyone, Matt Canning here with bodybuildingpro.com, here at the 2012 Arnold Classic Expo in Columbus, Ohio. I am here at the Scivation booth with Layne Norton. I don't think Layne needs an introduction. I've interviewed him a couple times before. I like to do an annual interview with him at the Olympia. But for those of you who don't know him, which is probably almost none of you, because most of you do, especially on bodybuilding.com, you should note that he has a PhD and also is a excellent power lifter. Recently deadlifting 675 pounds at a body weight of 210, and before that 700 pounds at around 225. And he's a very good natural bodybuilder, which is very impressive that he can do both. So Layne, I basically wanted to ask you today, since this gets asked so much online, this is like trending with you. So Layne, could you tell us, what do you see is the most common error amongst the people, just as generally speaking, what error do you see people make the most? How could you address those people? And what has made you personally improve with your deadlift over these years?
Well, I think, the mistakes with the deadlift are similar to the mistakes just in general lifting up. Consistency, a lot of it, consistency and obviously staying healthy too. If you can't, a lot of people get hurt, with improper form, those sorts of things. So, staying healthy is a huge thing, because if you're hurt, you can't lift, you can't get better. And then consistency as well. A lot of people say, well, how do you keep making improvements? How do you keep making improvements? Well, I don't make huge improvements. You're looking at, I'm happy if I can put, 15, 20 pounds on a lift in a year. But if I do that and accumulates over time, all of a sudden, whenever you hit a big lift, people think all of a sudden you're an overnight sensation. So it's people don't realize it's tens of thousands of hours of practicing and working hard and getting it done. But I mean, for me, what's helped me the most in terms of lifting, with the main lifts and powerlifting, identify your weaknesses. It's just like bodybuilding with your physique. You identify your weaknesses. So in your deadlift, you identify a weakness. So let's say your weakness is you have trouble getting the bar off the ground. Like you have trouble getting it started. But what you want to do is maybe exacerbate that weakness. So what you do is you stand on like a 3-inch box, something like that. So you have to pull it farther. It's harder to get it off the ground. But if you can get it off the ground that way by practicing it over and over and over, then when you go back to regular height, it's going to be easier. You know what I mean? So it improves the muscles that you need to start that lift. Same token for me, I generally can generate plenty of speed off the ground. It's more of an issue of being able to, once I clear my knees, push my hips through. So I do a lot of reverse band deadlifts. So I'll hang bands up from the top of a rack and put them through the bar. So it's easier off the ground, but the higher the bar gets, the more slack there is in the band, the more difficult it is. So I can do, I can use 765 for 1 or 2 reps with reverse bands. So I can overload the top of what I'd normally be able to do and really work on that top hip drive, pushing my hips through. Whereas I wouldn't be able to do that normally with a regular deadlift because I have to expend so much energy off the ground to get it started. So again, you got to identify your weaknesses and identify what things you can do to help with your weaknesses, and you just keep pounding away at it over the years. It's one of those things where, again, people kind of thought, oh, overnight, oh my God, Layne squats 615 pounds or Layne deadlifts 700 pounds. What they don't see is, for me to take my squat from 500 to 615 was like 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And so it wasn't something that just happened, overnight. It's just that people don't really start paying attention until you start hitting big numbers, and they say, oh my God, this guy came out of nowhere, you know what I mean? So same thing with deadlift, I admit when I first, I'd always trained heavy, but kind of bodybuilding style. So once I switched to a typical, and I got my deadlift up to probably like high fives doing that. And then when I switched to like a pure powerlifting style routine where I'm doing, a West Side style conjugate split or doing some Russian splits, I really gained strength faster than usual, just because I never focused on that before. So, again, it's consistency, it's kind of dedicating yourself to that lift. You might not have as much progress on other lifts when you really decide to focus on one. But if you can maintain those other lifts while you're improving that one, you can always go back and work on the other ones. You know what I mean? Because I always kind of go with different cycles on what I emphasize. I did a real heavy bench cycle, trying to really emphasize that until my bench press up to 15 pounds. Same thing with squat. And I've done it with deadlift as well. So, yeah, I mean, emphasis in terms of, the priority principle. One thing I do agree with the Weeder, you got to prioritize what you want to do, and a consistency in identifying your weak points.
Awesome. Now, Layne, you've seen my you've seen my deadlift, my 475 deadlift. I had one 480 as well, but you've seen it. You told me that I need to do high box squats to improve. I did lock out, but anyway, we won't get into. You saw the video. So, what would you say in addition that for me to improve? I mean, you already gave me one advice, and based on the video, you know that my hips go up fast, and like from there it's a bit of a problem. So, what would you give as advice to me personally?
Actually, doing deficit deadlifts from a box may actually help you, because you have to keep your hips down on that, because if you don't, I mean, you're really gonna, get hurt. So, doing that is a big deal. I think, even footwear on deadlifts, I forget what kind of shoes you were wearing, but, making sure you're wearing a very flat soled.
Actually, I was wearing and I often do it in bare feet, so I don't know.
That's good. A lot of people wear tennis shoes, and really tennis shoes are one of the worst things you can wear for deadlifting or squatting. But I think maybe some deficit deadlifts, those sorts of things. It's a lot of trial and error too, because sometimes you can have multiple weaknesses and one is just overriding and masking others. I had that. When I first started deadlifting, I thought that my weakness was off the ground, and it just ended up that there was another weakness that was masking my primary weakness with my hips. So once I got rid of that, when I started getting better at deadlifts, all of a sudden my problem was lockout. You know what I mean? So it was kind of one thing covering up another. So it actually could be multiple problems. But I would really just try a variation of different things and see what kind of is giving you the best results. And it's like, that takes patience and time and experimentation. And that's, a lot of people kind of want the answer, right then and there. And sometimes it can be tough to tell. But I really think that, like I said, some of those variations I talked about, the deficit deadlifts, and then the high box squats, really focusing on not so much up and down sitting to the box, but back and forth. You know what I mean? So really sticking your hips back, and then when you come up, making yourself consciously push your hips through. You know what I mean? That can help quite a bit.
Thank you very much, Layne. Obviously, I'm no Layne Norton, but I was about 165 in that video, and I got 475, another time 480. I did lock it out. You got to give me that. So, and I need to eat more and other stuff too. But Layne is always a good guy to ask advice for. Now we have one more minute left. So what I want to do, Layne, is just if you could quickly tell us where we can get a hold of your DVD and on Facebook, things like that, and I will post links to all of that as well.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, right now the only way to get a hold of my DVD is either go to my website, and there's my latest blog says how you get a hold of it. You can't order it through the website. You have to order it directly from me via PayPal. But soon we're going to have the DVD available for order on the website, where you can just have a credit card and order it. And also, you can the one place that does have it is smartpowders.com. You can get it there. They're the first place that picked it up, oddly enough. We're trying to get on bodybuilding.com. We're trying to get it some other places too. So hopefully soon they'll be able to pick it up at all their favorite stores. But for right now, it's mostly just through me personally or on smartpowders.com.
Do you have a copy that I can buy from you here at the expo right now? Is there any left?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, I will pick one up after the interview. So anyway, here with Layne Norton at the 2012 Arnold Classic Expo in Columbus, Ohio. Like I say, I mean, he's revered for his deadlift, and I think he's the one to ask, and I'm going to definitely be taking his advice. So once again, here with Layne Norton at the Scivation booth, 2012 Arnold Classic Expo.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it.